What's up, Tsla family? It's Ray J back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's happening with SPY, Tesla, and the broader markets. I'm going to break down what's happening with President Trump as we have some updates that are very important and why we're going to be expecting some volatility very soon once we get FOMC in many, many hours from now. But just know that I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I'm saying as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out my Moomoo link that's down below. If you sign up for Moomoo with the link down below and deposit $100, you're guaranteed 5 free stocks. If you deposit $2,000, you're guaranteed 25 in total. Deposit $5,000, you're guaranteed 60 free stocks. You also qualify for an 8.1% APY on uninvested cash, and the offer ends at the end of July. In just 1 day from now, it ends tomorrow, so check it out before they run out. Now, when it comes to Tesla, I just want to say that, with what's going on right now, Tesla had this double bottom down here at this 300 area. It dumped after earnings and bounced. Then we made a low at 312 and bounced. Then our low was at 316 and bounced. Then our low was at 318. So Tesla's slowly trying to make higher lows right here. And if we could hold above our EMAs, there's a good chance it could try to push for like 325 before it starts to consolidate, approaching the very important numbers. And we have some good news that's come out that could help Tesla to some extent because Tesla signed another battery deal, and that could be some good news. On top of this, the market is bouncing just a little bit. I want to see if SPY could hold above 636 to try to push more. As we got some decent GDP numbers, we're going to see if this continues or not. But for now, that's a good sign that we could try to bounce a little bit on Tesla before we start to consolidate approaching FOMC. So what's happening with the news? Tesla's picked LGES, not CATL, for the $4.3 billion storage battery deal. That's some awesome news, at least for Tesla, because Tesla is a new battery cell supplier. Although they have once again seen some new benefits, what's going to happen is we're going to be looking to see what happens with these new battery cells. They're now going to be using Panasonic cells with the cheaper, sturdier lithium ion phosphate battery cells being supplied by CATL, but now they have a new source of them, right? It's not just CATL, but now they're going to be sourcing them from other places. Right? We have many others as well, such as LG Energy Solutions. This is some great news because it's been reported that Tesla has signed a contract worth $4.3 billion to do so, and LGES is going to begin supplying the cells next August until at least the end of July 2030. That's some good news, and they can make provisions to extend the contract if necessary. That is some good news as well. The cells are not basically destined for life on the road, but they will once again be used for energy storage products, which is going to once again help soak up demand and benefit Tesla in many different ways. So this is some good news right now. This also helps Tesla reduce its reliance on Chinese products, at least to some extent, because once again, depending on certain factors, this could benefit them. So keep that in mind. This is some good news for Tesla, and it's great to see more deals being signed. It's good for them to diversify where these different batteries are going to be coming from. I think that's a good news, if anything. On top of this, there's been some news that Tesla's considering and designing small trucks. This could be a new idea. It could be very, very cool, once again, for Tesla to try to look into like smaller trucks because this could help them in a lot of different ways to get even more sales and such. So that's something Tesla's been looking into. We're going to see how things go, at least nonetheless. Now, when it comes to our GDP numbers, the GDP growth rate was at 3%. That is technically above expectations. And then the GDP price index was at 2%. That's technically a little bit below expectations, but not too bad. Then we have GDP sales above expectations. So decent GDP numbers so far, as per why the market's a bit in the green. But there's not going to be much going on until we get to 2 p.m. We have the Fed rate decision at 2 p.m. and then the press conference at 2:30 p.m. Let's look for volatility at those times, especially at 2:30 p.m. There's a 97.9% chance the Fed's going to keep rates the same. Then we're going to see what ends up happening during the press conference. And when it comes to President Trump said that he's not going to be extending the tariff pause past August 1st. That's going to be the deadline, which is just a couple of days away. That's some big news, at least so far. Here is an actual Truth Social post from President Trump that says this. The August 1st deadline is the August 1st deadline. It stands strong and will not be extended. A big day for America, according to him. He also mentioned that, remember, while India is our friend, we have over the years done relatively little business with them because the tariffs are far too high, among the highest in the world. And they have the most strenuous and obnoxious non-monetary trade barriers of any country. So he was going on about that. Then he started to talk about how India will therefore be paying a 25% tariff because of their relationship with other countries such as like Russia. He's going to be once again doing that plus a penalty for the above. So as of right now, he's threatening high tariffs on India, but we're going to see if this leads to a deal very soon. I know they've been working on a deal, so we'll see what that leads to. But for now, India is going to be hit with very high tariffs starting in 2 days, so keep that in mind. President Trump also said that the second quarter GDP is at 3%, way better than expected. Too late, Powell must lower rates as soon as possible. There's no inflation. Let people buy and refinance their homes. So he's once again saying he wants Jerome Powell to cut rates. He's not going to cut rates today. They're going to most likely keep rates the same. Then we're going to have to see what Jerome Powell has to say during the Fed press conference at 2:30. Now, for earnings, there's not really much coming this morning, but later on after market close, we have Meta and Microsoft announcing earnings, so be ready for that. It's going to be a very interesting day. So, as far as Tesla goes, what I think could happen is we could, as long as we don't lose like 320, we could slowly try to get close to like 324 or so, the high from this area yesterday. And then I think Tesla's going to see a lot of consolidation like this until FOMC. And then Jerome Powell either launches this up or down. But I do think there's going to be a lot of chop on Tesla. We might push a little bit and shop around. So be ready at least to start things off. In terms of SPY, we're kind of stuck in the middle right now. We're going to see if this is going to develop into an inverse head and shoulders or not. But what I think is going to happen is we're going to be stuck between 635 and 636. Shop around like this. And then we're going to see if Jerome Powell launches this up or back down. Could go either way once we get to FOMC, so there might not be much volatility until 2:30 p.m. So be ready for some shop when things kind of like start off. Even for the QQQ, now one thing that concerns me about the QQQ is that this kind of like resembles a left shoulder, a head, and a right shoulder. Unless we get back up at 570, if we can't reclaim that, this does favor downside for like 566. Might see a small dip on the QQQ and then some consolidation. And then we're going to see if Jerome Powell causes us to get a rug pull or not, or if we get a big bounce. For now, the chart does favor bears a bit more, so be ready for that on the QQQ. On the IWM, we have the same thing essentially. So this is trying to climb slowly, but it's very choppy right now. We're essentially chopping between this 223.5 and then 223.8 area, kind of like this. We're going to see if we bounce higher or lower, but there might be a risk of rejection if this continues, so keep that in mind. ES is also consolidating. We have resistance around 6420 and we have support at 6400. I anticipate that we're going to continue to chop around like this and maybe try to climb higher for 6420. And then we're going to see if we reject or not off that area, but look for a lot of chop to start things off, and then we'll wait and see what happens at 2:30 p.m. Unfortunately, NQ also has a left shoulder, head, potentially a right shoulder that could be forming unless we get back above like 23,600 to turn bullish. If we can't reclaim that, there is going to be a risk of us rejecting and seeing a bigger dump if we fail at 23,400. So you want to be very careful in case the head and shoulders fails. Bitcoin is making lower highs here. We need to get back above 118,200 to bounce. If not, we're going to be favoring 117,000. So be very, very careful. For Tesla, we're trying to make higher lows here, but we're going to see if we try to break out higher or not. So be very, very careful. Look for somewhat of a push and then some consolidation. We'll just have to see how it goes. For Nvda, we're looking a bit more bullish. It might try to push a little higher for essentially 178 and then kind of consolidate. Then Jerome Powell is going to launch this up or down depending on the news. Hopefully, we try to push on Nvda, but we'll see just to be safe. Apple's dipping right here. It's showing some weakness relative to the markets. So this could also be dipping back down towards 209. In this 209 area down here, it might kind of consolidate and start dipping. Let me just go over a few more, like AMD for those who are interested. It's showing a little bit of weakness. I did call out 175 yesterday. We could be dipping towards this resistance, becoming support at 174, and then we may chop around there. Might be some more downside. Palantir could push for basically 157.5, and we'll see if it rejects. Coinbase is looking a bit more bullish. It's finally bouncing for 386. 386 to 388 could be tested. Amazon's consolidating between 231 and 230. I think we just trade sideways from this point until we see what happens with big tech earnings. Meta is showing some weakness. It could be retesting 700, and we're going to see if it bounces or not, depending on earnings. Not really doing much. Google favors upside for 197.5. Then Microsoft is favoring downside a little bit for essentially this 512 area in consolidation. So that being said, I anticipate that Tesla is kind of like choppy right now. Might slowly uptrend, try to go a little higher for like 324, but then I think that's going to just continue to trade sideways, not really doing a whole lot. And then we're going to see what happens, especially as time goes on. So keep that in mind. It may uptrend a little bit, try to push a bit higher before it consolidates, and then we'll see how things end up going. Anyways, that is it for this one. I want to thank you all so much for listening. So please have a fantastic rest of your guys' days. I'll be back very, very soon for another update. Keep in mind, as we approach FOMC, the market's typically choppy. So there's a good chance there's going to be a lot of chop today. And I'm not really expecting too much. Even after the GDP numbers came out, the market's still kind of flat. May push a little bit, but then I think we're going to be just choppy for the most part. And then we're going to see what happens once we get to FOMC. So until then, we're going to be patient. Thank you all for listening, and peace out.